All right, so I hope you had fun with riff number 1 and you got it down pretty good, I hope. So now we're on to lesson 3 of beginning rock guitar level 1. And these are left hand warm-up exercises. And I'm just going to go through them at the beginning of the video so that when you review this video you can just practice them with me and not have to go through all the explanations every time. So the first thing is to prep your 4 fingers, get them in position, and now lift fingers 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to be at the 4th fret from the capo. So this is the 1st fret, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So prep all 4 fingers on the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th frets, and then we're going to start. All right, so starting with the 1st finger, ready, slow. 1, finger 1, 1, 1, add finger 2, don't take 1 off. Add finger 3, keep all 3 fingers down. It's more efficient that way. Add finger 4, now you got all 4 of them down. Don't break rhythm, go right to the next string. Finger 1, 1, 1, we're still doing the first exercise. 2, 2, 2, repeating it on the 2nd string. Now we're going to go on to the 3rd string with the same exercise. 1, 1, 1, 1, add 2. Slow. Notice how my right hand is very relaxed, but I'm kind of sweeping out with my wrist. That's a good thing. You know, get used to playing from the wrist. Okay, now we're finished with exercise 1. Don't just jump back and start playing number 2. Prep your fingers on the 1st string, and then we'll start 2. Ready, slow. 1, 1, 2, 2, back to 1. This is just a different pattern of the 4 fingers. And then 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 4. And we're going to repeat this exercise on the 2nd string. I wouldn't break rhythm, just go right to the next string. Think of your pick, it's like an airplane taking off, going out in the air, you know. On to the 3rd string, still doing exercise number 2. 4. Okay, take a little break. Now if your notes don't ring real well, don't worry about it. By the end of the week you should start getting good notes. Now we're going back to the 1st string. Prep your fingers. Now the number 3 is a little trickier. We're skipping 1 to 3 and then 2 to 4. And you're going to keep 1 down all the way through the exercise. But when you end the exercise, 3 will be up in the air. That's just the way it works out. So it's like ready, slow. 1, 1, 3, 3, back to 1, 1. Keep 1 down when you play 3. Now keep 1 and 2 down, 2 when you play 4. 4, 3's up in the air though. 2, 2, 4, 4, on to the 2nd string. 1, 1, 3, 3. Sorry, my frets are kind of buzzing here a little bit. Sorry about that. It's just cheap guitar, right? 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, 4. On to string 3. I can't think of when I've had so much fun. This is better than Disney World, right? In some ways it is. You don't have to stand in lines. Think of it as meditation, guitar meditation, and you'll enjoy it more. You'll get a spiritual enlightenment. Anyway, so now we've done this. You can practice with me playing, and we're just going slow, and we're not really worried. These are warm-ups, so we're not, trying to get through them before the other guy. We're not competing or anything, so we don't need to rush through them. It's like a runner stretching out their arms, stretching their legs, just feeling, getting started. You just woke up, you got your coffee, drinking your coffee, and playing warm-ups, okay? Do these daily. Do the open string warm-ups first, where you plant the pick, plant, plant, play, plant, next string. Do all 6 of those warm-ups, and then do these left-hand exercises. And it might take you, as you get more familiar with it, at first it might take you 20 minutes to get through them. But after a while, it should be more like 10 minutes or less. So anyway, now what are we looking for with the left hand? We're trying to keep our hand in line with the fretboard. And I'll tell you, people who are self-taught, this is not a natural thing that someone who is self-taught would fall into. Because most of us tend to angle the hand this way too much. We angle more toward our face, which means that now the knuckles are this way and the neck is this way. But we want to get the knuckles this way with the neck. Think of a leveler. You want to keep everything level. And also think of your pinky, like I mentioned, talking about the first riff. Get your pinky comfortable. And you might try putting your fingers down backwards. Put your pinky down, and then the third finger, and then the second finger, and then the first finger. And keep in mind, you want this knuckle to be a little bit forward. Like if I drew a straight line up, it would be into the next fret, compared to where the tip of my finger is. So the big knuckle of my first finger is forward from where the tip of the finger is. So the tip of the finger is here. The big knuckle, if you drew a straight dotted line up here, it would be more about like where your thumb is behind the neck. And that's another thing. Make sure your thumb's not trying to hang on the neck. That's comfortable. And keep in mind your hand, both hands, but now we're focusing on the left hand. Keep in mind that this hand does not have a brain. So your hand will tend to do the laziest, sloppiest thing that it can do just to be comfortable, And the hand doesn't really want to bend the fingers. It wants to flatten them, you don't want to play with flat fingers. You want your fingers to be nice and bent, and you want a really nice curl to your fourth finger. You don't want your fourth finger looking like this. It's always good to practice these in front of a mirror and really watch to see if your hand is parallel to the neck. Okay? So that's one thing. Now another thing is, like I was mentioning when I played through them, as we go from a lower numbered finger like 1 to a higher numbered finger like 2, we would keep the lower numbered finger down. It doesn't sound any different if I lift it because you're hearing 2. You're not hearing 1. So you could lift it, but it's less. You don't want to play lifting every finger immediately when you go to another finger. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We want to train the fingers to get a sense of 4 frets. Think of this as a shape. Like when we play a D chord, we're making a shape with our fingers that we put them all down, and then when we strum, it's a D chord. But think of when you're playing single notes or scales. Oops, sorry. When you're playing scales, you're playing a shape with your fingers. And here we're doing a shape of all 4 fingers down. So if you keep lifting them all the time, then what happens, remember the hand is dumb. The hand will bunch the fingers up like a bunch of bananas, and you'll end up shifting to every fret. Like we call that a shift, where you're moving your whole arm. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to play 4 fingers to 4 frets without moving or shifting your arm or your hand. Okay? So we want to keep the fingers down, and just think about it. Don't lift a finger if you don't have to. That's sort of like the lazy man's philosophy, right? I'm not going to lift a finger unless I have to. So don't lift. Why lift when you don't have to lift? It's more efficient. You'll learn the spread of the fingers, and you'll end up playing, you'll be able to play faster because you're moving fewer fingers. Why do this when you can do the same thing just moving 1 finger? Okay, so that's the rule, is keep fingers down whenever possible. Now, let me also say though that you don't want to put extra fingers down that you're not even using. So if I go from finger 1 to 3, I don't need to put 2 down with it. When we played the first riff, 0, 4, 7, 4, we didn't put all 3 fingers down to play 4. That would be silly. So only put down the fingers you need. Don't put extra fingers down, because partly that's going to confuse your hand. So if I put all my fingers down, I might only lift 2 of them, or 1 of them, and then I'll come back to the wrong note. Instead of coming back to that note, I'll put them all down, and then I'll forget to lift the other ones, and it confuses the hand. So don't put extra fingers down, but hold a finger if there's no need to lift it. If you've already played a note and you don't need to lift the finger, don't lift it. That's the way we want to, that's our mindset. Another thing that confuses the hand is that we can hold fingers going this direction from a lower numbered finger to a higher numbered finger. But if you were starting with the higher numbered finger, you cannot hold that going to the other fingers, because you're only going to hear this note if you keep holding it. See, I don't hear any different notes. So it doesn't work going this direction. You do have to lift when you're going that way with your hand. And even though your brain may know that, you may know that, your hand may not have learned that yet. So the hand gets used to holding when you're doing that, and then suddenly then the hand tries to hold, and you got to tell it not to, You've got to tell your hand not to hold when you're going the other way. So those are some things to think about. Also, when you're playing these, don't forget your right hand. Make contact right in the wedge. We've talked about that. That's our technique. We're only doing downstrokes right now. So, warm up with some open strings, and then, okay. Now, looking at the page, try to see these as patterns. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. That's exercise number 1. And that's pretty easy, right? You're just doing each finger 4 times. And so if you know that pattern, you won't have to stare at the page you can look at your left hand and watch for keeping it parallel and all the things that we talked about. Another thing I forgot to mention is that you always want to play right up to the fret. You've got this space between frets, but you want to be up to the fret that you're playing. And so, like, this would be the first fret. If you were up to the fret, you'd be hugging right next to it. If you're up to the second fret, you're hugging next to that. Third fret, fourth fret. So you don't want to be at the third fret when you're trying to play the fourth fret. Because, can you hear that buzz? Now, I can press harder and get a good note, but why do that? Why press twice as hard when you can do it with less pressure, half the pressure, and get really good sounding notes? Plus, this will make your playing 100% more accurate if you always play right up to the frets. So I forgot to mention that, so I want to mention that. And so anyway, you want to try to memorize these patterns at a glance. So it's not that I've got the whole page memorized. I could, but and I kind of do because I've been teaching these for 40 years, or really closer to 50 years. But we're not going to talk about that. But the second exercise, look at the pattern: 1 1 2 2 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 3 3 4 4. Isn't that a logical pattern? Can you see a pattern to that? So get to know the pattern at a glance and say, oh yeah, I played that, I know it. And then watch your hands as you're playing. 1 1 2 2 3 3. Watch for efficiency. So don't lift your fingers. That's another thing. You don't want to lift your fingers 5 inches away from the frets. You want to keep them, say I'm on the frets with all 4 fingers. Now this is a good exercise. Try to just relax the pressure and let your fingers come off the string equally, all 4 fingers off the string, but still holding the same shape. And you're right above the fret that you would be playing. I'm about 1/8 of an inch off the string. If you can do that and just hover and hold that, freeze in that position, and then put them down again, and then lift them, put them down again. Avoid any kind of like twisted kind of hand positions. Try to get it really parallel. Then that's really good to do. Another thing to watch out for is that you don't want to, when you change strings, you don't want to stretch your fingers out more and then stretch them out a little bit more and then a little bit more, and then eventually when you get to the 6th string, you're playing flat fingers, which is really sloppy. You know, you want to keep your fingers the same as if, let me put my pick down, as if you were holding your hand and moving the guitar. Keep the same composure, the same curl of your fingers on the 1st string as they would be on the 6th string. And that's a good exercise. Try to put all 4 fingers down on the 1st string and then move them extremely to the 6th string and see if you can keep the same shape. Your thumb's going to have to move behind the neck. Your whole hand is going to have to move. Don't just stretch them out. Try to move everything as if you're moving the guitar. Like that. Think of it that way. Okay? So that's another thing. You want to keep the same composure of the fingers as you change strings. But here we're only going to the 3rd string. But still, you could be reaching a little more, reaching a little bit more, and then you end up playing kind of flat on the 3rd string. So you want to avoid that. Okay? So let's look at pattern number 3. So that's 1 1 3 3 twice, and then 2 2 4 4 twice. Pretty easy to remember, right? So when you're playing it, try to watch your left hand instead of watching the page. So watch your hands or watch yourself in a mirror and try to just assess the way you're playing and try to keep the motion to a minimum. Don't lift your fingers 3 inches off the strings. That's, another thing that I don't expect you to have total control over all these things right now, but it's something to think about and have a goal of being more and more efficient as you play. Okay? So these are pretty simple, straightforward left-hand warm-ups. If you do these daily, they really will help your left hand. You'll develop more strength and be able to play all the riffs and everything that I'm going to give you in the following lessons. And now in the book, if you notice, on page 10, I've got the whole procedure of how we play these 3 times each, written in tablature. I don't really recommend reading the tablature because then, again, you're looking at the page and you're not really looking at your left hand. We're just learning these techniques. So you have to look and make sure you're doing it right. And then so that eventually you don't have to look and you know that by feel that you're doing it right. Okay? So I wouldn't recommend, even though I put it there for people who maybe if they look at page 9 and they go, what is that? And then maybe they can figure it out by reading the tablature on page 10 and 11. But I usually don't recommend learning them through the tablature. You can if you must, but it's just there as sort of a safeguard. Okay? So that's left-hand exercises. Have fun with that. And subscribe if you haven't to John Hedger Guitar Studio on YouTube here. And go to Facebook and like John Hedger Guitar Studio. Thank you so much.